Today, I'm going to show you how I make my zip tie ear post. And the whole point of this video, because there are gazillion videos on YouTube that people have made of doing different forms of ear posting. But the point of me doing this one is I have watched many videos. I have seen people do it in person. I've seen it done lots of different ways. And I have tried to combine everything that I have seen into the simplest version of doing a zip tie ear post that I can possibly do. Because a new person coming into posting ears, it can seem very complicated, very daunting, and just kind of discouraging if you're trying to do an ear post. So in my opinion, simpler is better, and I think we've got it down to about as simple as you can possibly get it. So number one, you have to start with your zip ties. Pause it. You're going to want to find the largest zip ties or heavy duty cable ties, call them different things, that you can find. They come in black or they come in white. I've heard some people say one color is better than the other, but if you look at the actual packages, they say this exact same thing. So I don't really find that one is any different than the other. I do find that the end down here where it's tapered and you actually stick it back through the zip tie is thinner. So I always use the upper portion, not the lower portion. So you can buy these just about anywhere. Any hardware store. I order most of my stuff online from Amazon just because it's easier. So you get your zip tie, cable tie, and have that. One will last you for forever. And the nice thing actually about zip ties as well is you can actually use the zip tie and cut off what's left and use it for ear posts. So you can get double use out of them. Anyway, measure your zip tie. And basically you're going to want it to go about a 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch longer than the ear. It needs to be longer than the tip of the ear for the way I do them. So you put it all the way into the ear and measure it out. You can use backer rod to measure that. You can just kind of eyeball it and measure it. You know, you can measure it different ways. But once you have cut your zip tie, you need to round the edges. Let me show you. When you initially cut it, you have these sharp corners, and these are very sharp, and they would cause a lot of damage to the inside of the ear if you used it like this. So you have to get that off. The simplest way is you take your Dremel and you're just going to round the edges. You round them this way, I'll round it this way a little bit, and just use my finger and check it and make sure nothing is hard or catching or gonna rub. So you do that on all 4 ends. So, you know, your zip tie also has to be a little bit longer because of that as well, because you shorten it down. Nice thing about the zip ties is you reuse them, so you don't have to do this every time. You get a pair of zip ties that fits your dog's ears and you reuse it over and over and over again unless they chew it up or damage it or something like that. I actually have multiple different sizes from doing lots of dogs' ears, and I just keep them in a bag and pull out the ones that I need. Occasionally I'll have to make new ones because they get a little bent and worn. But anyway, so once you get your zip ties, you will also need cotton squares. These are just from Walmart. They are the squares. They are not cotton balls. They are cotton squares. Look like so. They are over in the hygiene department, normally close to your makeup, or again, you can order them online. Really easy to find. Scissors, obviously, good scissors that are sharp. And tape. Tape is a booger anymore. I would say get this exact kind of tape, but you can't get this kind of tape anymore. But thankfully, I still have about 4 boxes of these because when they were going out of production, I bought a whole bunch. But if you can find them, this is probably the best tape. It's the Zonus Porous Tape. The number is 5104, the particular number. But like I said, they don't actually make the 1 inch anymore. They do make an 1.5 inches, which you can tear the 1.5 inches down to 1 inch and use it. Which I know a lot of people do for doing the actual post. And then when you're wrapping, 1.5 inches works fine for wrapping. But if you can't find this tape, you know, you may just have to play around with some different tapes, but you want a cloth porous tape kind of like an athletic tape, 1 inch. You can kind of see how that has the little pores in it. It's easy to tear. So you want something you can just rip like so, but I still have several boxes, so, and no, you cannot have my tape. So you tape over to the side, and when you go to put the ears in, when you actually are inserting them, you'll need your glue. I've been using this glue for years. I know a lot of people use the Elmer's Craft glue. We did try that one time, and my kids are crazy, so they like to experiment on stuff, and my son sprayed the craft glue. I used the craft glue on one of my dog's ears, and it really bothered them, and they really didn't like it, and they were shaking and everything, and I was like, what is wrong? Why is this bothering you so much? And so my son's like, here, let me see it, and he sprays it on his arm or something, and he's like, Mom, this stuff burns. And so he didn't like it either, so that's when I just went back to the 3M, because my son says the craft glue burns. I don't know. I didn't spray it on myself. He also tried a shock collar, so, you know, that's just odd. Which, side note, if you're going to try a shock collar, you shouldn't buckle it around your neck. It's a lot harder to get off then. You can ask Todd about that one. All right, so when you're making, can you see this well?
Yes.
Okay, so stretch out your tape. You want non-sticky side down, sticky side up. We're going to sandwich the zip tie in our tape. I do it about 1 inch from the bottom. That's all you need. Try and make sure it gets centered. I always touch it at the bottom first and lay it down flat. If you try and drop the whole thing flat, it's a lot harder to get centered. I found that putting it down on one end and gently centering it like that is the easiest way to do it. So you just stick that in there. On the top, you're going to want about 2 inches. So you got about 1 inch at the bottom, and then 2 inches, 3 inches, you know, I don't measure it exactly. I just cut it at the top. Then you take your tape and you're going to go over the top of it. Non-sticky side to the sticky side up. Again, the easiest way is to place this side down first, and I hold that tight, pull your tape taut, and bring it down and touch it to the other side. So now my 2 ends are stuck. Pull off this direction, and I just press it together gently with my fingers like so. So you've got it basically stuck together already. And then you take it off, snip it again, and that's pretty much it. I will then take my scissors and go around the zip tie to make sure that the tape is touching good and that the zip tie itself is sealed in the tape well, so the zip tie is not wiggling around inside of that tape. You want the zip tie to stay in place. So you just use the scissors because they have a corner, and you just make sure the zip tie is sealed in that tape well. And there you go for one. Same process again on the second one, so you can see it again. Stretch your tape out. Go about 1 inch from the bottom, get it centered. About 2 inches or so at the top. Pull your tape out again. Press it down on one end. Pull it taut and touch it to the other end, then gently put it together. Snip it, and then get it all sealed in there snugly. So now we have our two. The next step is you're going to take your tape here, still your 1 inch tape, and cut maybe a 2 inch piece. Again, 2 inches, 3 inches, it's not a big deal. And you're wanting to split it into about 1/2 inch pieces. You can buy 1/2 inch tape if you want to. I just cut mine in half. Sharp scissors make this much easier. And there we go. Set that to the side. I'll put it here where you can see it. So you just set that to the side somewhere. Then our cotton tabs come into play. You'll need two, one for each post. Now, I have had dogs with smaller ears or just younger puppies when you're doing this, and you may have to cut this cotton tab a little bit smaller. If I have to do that, I just basically cut off one piece. I'll cut one of these little sections off and make it a little bit smaller, but 6 months and older dogs, typically the whole cotton pad will fit. It's not a big deal. So you fold your cotton pad in half, like so. And then you have your short side where the 1-inch tape is. This goes over the top. Put it about halfway on there. So you've covered about half of it. And you go up, fold it up, and so then it's stuck on itself there. This side is connected. And you just wrap it around where you have the cotton tab all the way at the bottom. I do not pull this tight. I don't pull it tight and push up. I actually want it kind of loose, because if you give it a little wiggle room and you have it a little bit loose, that makes a softer cushion in there. If you pull it really tight against that zip tie, that's going to rub easier in the puppy's ear. So loosely fold it back over. Your back side is not stuck, but the front side is stuck. And then we get our 1/2-inch pieces that we put over there, and you're just going to tape it around. Pull it snugly, just basically wrap it around, and that's it. That's all you do. You sandwich the zip tie in there, you put your cotton swab on the bottom, and the zip tie is ready to go. So let me show you that fold one more time, because that was the tricky thing to me when I was first starting out. I was like, wait, how did they do that? So you have your short end, the 1-inch, you go about halfway, and you fold it up, just like that. And then this side is stuck. And you go backwards and fold it around loosely. I got that one a little bit high there. So you've got some softness there. And take your tape and you tape it around. Just like that. Now, like I was saying, if you have a dog who has a smaller ear base and you had to cut your cotton swab down smaller, sometimes your tape may be a little bit too wide. So if you cut your cotton swab down, you may have a little bit of tape poking out on the edges. If that is the case, you can just snip that extra tape. It's really not a big deal. Or you can just kind of squash it all together, and it's not a big deal either. I have seen where people actually take the cotton swabs and like wrap the zip tie to make it like small and round. And I've tried that, but what I had was typically it rubbed in the bottom because it made it harder. And the whole goal is to keep this soft down here. So this is soft and squishy. It's not hard. So it smushes into the ear and kind of fits to the base of the ear. And I typically don't have any rubbing down in the base of my ear. And that's it. So you need your cotton swabs. You're going to need your cloth porous tape, scissors, your actual zip ties themselves, probably a Dremel, and that's really it for making the zip tie. And that's about as simple as you're going to find for making a zip tie ear post.